The Pokewalker was an accessory included with copies of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It's a pedometer that tracks your steps in real life in order to obtain items and Pokemon. It was actually the world's most accurate pedometer at the time of its release, showing us that Pokemon professors truly are the greatest innovators of our time. In order to use the Pokewalker, the player transfers one of their own Pokemon into the device to, as the game puts it, go for a stroll. But once you see the step requirements for some of the Pokemon you can catch with this thing, it's really more like a Forrest Gump trek around the country. Before you send over your Pokemon, you have to choose your Pokewalker course. Each course has its own set of Pokemon and items. For every 20 steps you take in the real world, you are awarded a Watt, the universal currency of the Pokewalker. 3 Watts allow you to look for items, and 10 Watts allows you to try and catch a Pokemon. When you return from a stroll, the leftover Watts can unlock new courses once you get enough of them. There are 6 Pokemon per Pokewalker course, each in a group of increasing rarity. Only 3 of the 6 Pokemon can appear per trip, randomly selected from the 2 Pokemon of each group. In the PokeRadar minigame, 4 grass patches appear, and eventually an explanation point will pop up on one of them. As you press on the explanation, it will either start the battle or another one will appear. The more explanation points appear, the rarer your encounter will be. No matter the Pokemon you find, the battle is always the same. You both have 4 hit points, and the lower your opponent's hit points, the more likely you'll capture them. Pressing left attacks, pressing right evades, and pressing the middle throws a Pokeball. If you attack, the opponent will either attack back or evade. If they evade, you don't hit them and they hit you back. Ouch. You may be thinking, why not evade all the time? When you do evade, the Pokemon has a chance to flee. Also, there are critical hits that deal 2 damage, so you've got some more luck to deal with. Pokewalker battles are actually really exciting and are the perfect balance of luck and player choice. To create this feeling with 3 buttons and minimal computing power is just a work of art. So, what sort of Pokemon can you get on the Pokewalker? You've got your regular Pokemon that you can get anywhere else, like Pidgey, Geodude, or Tentacool. There's some more uncommon Pokemon like Voltorb, Murkrow, or Magby, and even rare Pokemon like Dratini, Wobbuffet, and Kangaskhan. Now, in order to find rarer Pokemon in the higher groups, you not only need to have enough Watts to try and catch them, but you also have to have a certain amount of steps logged into your Pokewalker before they reset for the day. For example, a Wobbuffet doesn't appear until you've taken 4,000 steps, while a Paras on the same course will start showing up at around 700 steps. You can lower the amount of steps you need for a certain Pokemon if you bring one of the 3 special types for that particular course. So now that we know how to find Pokemon, let's take the Pokewalker to the absolute extreme! What are the rarest Pokewalker Pokemon? As of Gen 4, the rarest Pokemon around aren't Mewtwo, Rayquaza, or Arceus. It was Evil Face, Hungry Bear, and Ugly Fish. The rarity of these Pokemon in the regular games is a subject for another video, but let's just say that each of them take a ridiculous amount of time and effort to get a hold of. The other methods of getting these Pokemon are so insane that the 100,000 Watts needed to unlock the final Pokewalker course seems like a better alternative. That's 2 million steps, by the way, and that doesn't include the Watts you use to try and catch Pokemon or nab items. And to make matters worse, all 3 of these Pokemon have a lower than usual chance to encounter. So you'll be trying even longer to get these guys. Feebas is the easiest to get of the 3, which is nice because it's arguably the hardest to get of the 3 under non-Pokewalker circumstances. After 500 steps, you may find Feebas at a 20% encounter rate, which is lower than most others, but not too bad. Spiritomb and Munchlax, on the other hand, are far more difficult to get your hands on. They require 7,500 steps in one day, that is, if you have a Dark, Psychic, or Ghost Pokemon in the Pokewalker with you. If not, it's 10,000 steps to find one. Once you've put your legs through that anguish, you can then go up against the 15% chance of getting Munchlax or the 5% chance of getting Spiritomb. Yep, 5%. 8%. To make matters worse, if you already got Munchlax and want Spiritomb, you'll have to take 7,500 steps just to check if Spiritomb is even the one to spawn, since only Munchlax or Spiritomb can appear, but not both. So, if you take all those steps and Spiritomb doesn't spawn, you're gonna need to take another brisk walk tomorrow once those steps reset. If you think you'll have enough time to just put the Pokemon back and try again for Spiritomb on the same day, remember, this is a 5% encounter rate and 10 watts a pop to try. And when you do encounter it, you're not even guaranteed to get it. That is, on average, 200 watts per encounter. Let's say you catch it on attempt 4, a generous assumption. That's 800 watts, 16,000 steps. So it doesn't even matter if the steps reset, because you need to take that many more to even have a chance of getting the thing. But at least Spiritomb is the hardest Pokemon to get, right? Oh, there are worse ones. Did you know that the Pokewalker was the first time you could capture a wild starter Pokemon in a repeatable fashion? It's Torchic in the Sightseeing Pokewalker course. Torchic has a lot of similarities to Spiritomb. They both take 7,500 steps in order to be able to be seen, provided you bring the special types. The major difference is that Torchic is a 1% encounter rate instead of Spiritomb's 5%. Well, 1% isn't that much lower than 5%, right? Says the person who fell asleep in 7th grade math and doesn't know what exponential growth is. If Torchic is encountered 1% of the time, that means that you will find, on average, 1 if you use 1,000 watts. That's 20,000 steps for 1 encounter. And you probably won't even catch it the first time. By your 3rd Torchic attempt, you will have walked the equivalent of the New York Marathon. Also, Torchic's course was a special event course, only available if you lived in Japan from November 14th, 2009 to January 11th, 2010, or if you lived in South Korea between April 17th, 2010 and May 31st, 2010. But that's got to be the hardest Pokewalker Pokemon, right? What could be worse than 1%? Pikachu is the most difficult Pokewalker Pokemon to obtain if you want to get both the special flying and surfing Pikachu from the Yellow Forest Pokewalker course. This course was also an event course, but since it was available in American and European regions, it's more common than the Torchic course. The gimmick of the Yellow Forest is that every Pokemon here is a Pikachu. The rarest Pikachus are a 3% encounter rate and a 2% encounter rate. This is a little better than Torchic, but since you don't know if the Pikachu you are fighting is the special Pikachu or just a regular Pikachu, you're not gonna know which Pikachu it is until you transfer it back into the game, which will then reset the over 15,000 steps you need to take in order to get enough watts to even look for the Pikachu. Now, this isn't all bad. You can tell if you have a chance of it being the Pikachu you want by the amount of explanation points that pop up on the grass patch. If there's only 1 explanation point when the battle starts, that Pikachu will not be the one you're looking for, so don't catch it. However, if there are 2 explanation points, that Pikachu will either be the mid-tier Pikachu, which you don't want, or the high-tier Pikachu you do want. But you don't know until you transfer it over. If you wait around for 3 explanation points to appear, you know for a fact it's the top percentage Pikachu. Now, here's the dilemma. Do you either A, capture any Pikachu that shows up from 2 explanations, or B, wait until the 3 explanations appear so you know for sure it's the rare Pikachu? If there are any mathematicians in my audience that could come up with the formula that mathematically tells us which of those options is better, please let me know in the comments below. I honestly have no idea. So, let's say you actually do get one of the Pikachus. Now comes the worst part, getting the other one. You now have a 50% chance of the next super rare Pikachu being a duplicate. I'm not sure if Torchic is still the harder Pokemon to get your hands on compared to Pikachu, but if you're talking about trying to get both flying and surfing Pikachu, I think they take the cake as the rarest duo in Pokemon history. What would it take to actually do this challenge? You would need a Pokewalker, which nowadays costs about $40, and an authentic copy of Pokemon Heart Gold or Soul Silver, which will probably set you back about $150. Then you'll need to get yourself a time machine in order to get the event Pokewalker courses, which should set you back only about $8 billion. Jokes aside, it's unfortunate that this fun Pokemon accessory is so hard to get a hold of in the modern day. The Pokewalker was super fun, and while things like Pokemon Go and the Pokeball Plus followed in the Pokewalker's footsteps, nothing truly captured the magic of the Pokewalker since. Hey, if you like this video, maybe you'd like this video where I challenge you to do a legendary shiny hunt with the elusive Luxury Ball. Or check out this video that talks about Generation 5's Pokestar Studios. If you like what I do and want to see me do more of it, consider becoming a channel member or checking out my Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.